I'm confused as to why culture's getting more respect here than the individuals who are having their rights violated.
For me, in my personal response, it would be I respect what I think I should respect.
You are the type of person where if you were like raised in a society that like enslaved people, you'd sign off on that being morally acceptable and you'd accept it and that sort of thing.
I believe so.
It will be a bit harder for you, maybe a little bit. You know, sometimes it will be a bit inconvenient. But if you just say no right now and continue saying no, they won't have their throat slit. You're telling me you'd go, oh no, slit their throat. I want things to be a bit easier. Yeah, less killing, yeah. So wouldn't it be more consistent in your worldview not to participate in more killing? Oh,
Hello, hello.
hello, I can hear you. You're quite loud, but I'll turn you down.
Yep, I'm sorry for that.
That's all right, don't worry. So you were saying you wanted to debate in chat. Was there any specific proposition you had in mind?
I'm sorry. Can you see me?
I can't see you, no, and you're not on screen. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. So I think my camera is kind of bugged out. So
It does look. It does look like it's got like a camera and a cross. So I think it's upset. um,
okay.
yeah. So you were wanting to debate. Is there a specific proposition you had in mind?
Yeah. I think the main proposition for me was because I've tried veganism for 1 month. I could say roughly for 1 month, and it wasn't really working for me due to I think prep time, and also I was living in a small village, so there wasn't many like supermarkets available for like these kind of products, I guess.
Okay. So to me, that doesn't sound like a proposition. What would you? What would it be like? Uh, Veganism is only acceptable to do if it's convenient, sort of thing.
I mean, if in a way, yes, convenient, because I would say, for example, if I'm like with a group of friends and we go out to a restaurant, say, it's difficult to fit everyone's agenda in, so to speak.
Okay, so would it be more veganism is only a moral obligation if it is convenient for the subject?
I mean, in my perspective, it's veganism. I would say is the best way, but trying to convince millions, billions of people is very a long process if you think
Oh
of it.
yeah, sorry. Just so we streamline this, I'll happily go through like every kind of like part of this.
Yes.
But if we go through like one by one, so your first kind of point was because I'm really not clear on what your contention is at the moment. Like, are you resistant to veganism in the sense of it's only an obligation? Like, so say me, I'm someone who's vegan, right? I'm advocating for people to go vegan. You've come
Right.
here. There's some sort of contention. So is it that's why I've kind of tried to like make one for you in what you said, and what it sounds like you're trying to say is like veganism is only a moral obligation. You should only be expected to be vegan if it is convenient for you. Is it would that be
Well,
correct?
in ways, yes, because
In ways, yes.
I think, for example, if we are like I was saying before in chat, is if we're a survival point, say for example, I know this has been a very referenced topic in any sort of debate of veganism, but say for example I'm on a desert island and I need to survive, and say for example the main resource there is pigs or anything,
Mm-hmm.
I will happily kill to survive.
Yep.
But say for example, because we are in a modern day, say for example, in the house, okay, there is no excuse. Anyone can be a vegan. There is multiple resources, but to apply that in a global extent, I think is very difficult, and it would take many years for it to actually come true.
Yeah, so I'm not interested so much in whether or not it's like how long it will take. That's like obviously I have no idea. My interest is whether or not one is morally obligated to, right?
Right.
So what I'm trying to work out. So you said, oh, in the house. So where is this house? Like in the UK?
I would say anyone's household. Say for example, would be Europe, America, anywhere.
So when you said when you were in Portugal in a village, that's in Europe, and you would have been in a house. So that would apply to you as well in Portugal.
In ways, yes. If I would to cultivate, but say I don't have the time for that, that would be very difficult.
Right. So yeah, it would be more difficult, but would you still be morally expected to go vegan in that situation where it's more inconvenient, might be a little bit more expensive if you want to get more, like a greater abundance of products. It's not quite as easy. Would you still be, in your view, expected to go vegan?
I think I would, yes.
Right.
Because my point is, I'm not 100%. I'm the contrary. I'm for veganism,
Right.
but it's very difficult to imply that in today's society. And for me to go 100% vegan would be a massive step.
Okay, so right, so what have you just said there? So you've just said people, like, globally, it would be hard to be vegan, right?
Yeah.
You're saying you you would find it difficult to go vegan now. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Okay. And there was another thing you said, like in between those two.
So it would be like a very difficult step as
Okay,
of now.
very difficult step. Okay. So, so this is going on to kind of another topic. So what I'd just like to just make sure that we're clear on is, even though you'd find it difficult now, and even though you would have found it difficult in your other situation in Portugal, you would still be morally expected to go vegan. You
Yes.
believe that? Okay. So
Yes.
okay. So why then, if it's the case that you are expected to go vegan, this is the expectation. Otherwise, you are committing, in your view, like a moral atrocity or anything. Or just to make sure I'm not putting words in your mouth, do you believe it is a moral atrocity to commit rights violations against other species of animals?
If not necessarily, yes.
Can you expand on what you mean there?
So for example, if you're not in a survival situation, then yes.
Okay, so in your framework, like, say for example, you're on a desert island with a human being, contextually, you wouldn't find it like immoral to kind of like kill that human to survive, just like you wouldn't
No, not
find
not at all. Not at all. If
not
it
at
would
all.
be a
Okay.
human being, a pig, a chicken, anything.
Okay, yeah. So
If it's
yeah,
for my
okay.
survival, then yes.
So you're
Then
seeing
yes.
that there's no morally significant difference between the humans and the other animals in that instance that
No,
would
not
justify
at
it.
all. No.
So we've kind of covered that we both have an agreement that it's not morally justified to, like, not be vegan. It's not morally justified to commit those rights violations. Okay. So now I guess, so the other thing that seems to be the problem is that the kind of like difficulty for yourself, before we go on to the globe part.
Yes.
If you know that there's no morally significant difference between humans and other animals that would justify it, why would it being just kind of difficult for you be something that stops you from, like, avoiding, like, contributing to that atrocity?
Well, I would say it's a perspective of society. So, for example, if I'm living by myself, is it's okay. I could completely do 100% veganism. But say, for example, I'm with a partner and I'm not saying against veganism, but they just will not even try to be vegan. It would be very difficult to stay as a vegan, I would believe.
Why would that? Sorry, what? So, do you think it'd be difficult for me if I'm vegan? Say if I wanted to date a non-vegan, you think it would be difficult for me to just carry on being vegan?
I think so.
I don't. How are you getting that?
Like, say for example, you would sit at the dinner table, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you have both separate meals, and I think it would be very difficult to not like at least be like a temptation to eat meat.
Why would the temptation be there if you know it's a moral atrocity?
But just based on natural instincts.
Sorry, natural instincts. What's the argument for that being at play when there's like cooked flesh
Well,
in front of you on a dinner table?
seeing that I've ate meat like my whole life, I think if there would be it presented in front of me, I think I would not resist the temptation of eating it again.
Oh, so you're talking more about like habit shifting and societal norms, not
Correct.
natural
Yes. Yes.
instinct. Okay, okay. So yeah, so I personally reject the idea that it'd become suddenly difficult for me to be vegan. Say if someone were around me like consuming corpses or something. So maybe in your experience you'd find that difficult. But for me, like I'd just see it as wrong. So it wouldn't suddenly mean I mean I wouldn't personally even be with somebody who does that in the first place, but that's a different matter. But the cultural norms seems to be the thing that popped up. So the issue with the whole cultural like relativism and societal norms being the thing that kind of drives what we see as right and wrong. Do you kind of subscribe to those? Do you think that if something is socially acceptable, then it is indeed like morally acceptable? Is that a route you take?
In ways, yes, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with in Portugal there's a thing called matança do porco, and basically it's a pig killing like kind of gathering of
Mm-hmm.
families. And what they will do is during the like summertime period they would feed the pigs so they get as fat as possible, which I don't really like. It's not my pleasure to see or like do anything to do wards with the like killing animals.
Mm-hmm.
But they would fill it to the maximum size so they get the most amount of meat out of it. They would gather families together and a knife to the throat and kill the pig. And then everyone eats this one animal that was fed and led up to this process.
I'm not sure how that answered my question.
So it's a tradition. This is what people will
Yeah,
do,
so
and
what I'm asking you, sorry to cut in, just so we're clear, I'm asking you, do you think that because something is socially normal, a social norm, that it is therefore morally justified because it's but by proxy of it being a social norm?
well, it is a tradition, so therefore it should be respected. But is it morally justified? I don't think so. No.
So can I just test whether or not you think it should be respected if it's a tradition?
I
So
think the tradition in tradition, because let's not mix up two different subjects. It's a tradition is should be respected as therefore religion and anything you can think of, but the animal killing in itself, no, I do not think it's morally justified.
So if I were on an island and I created a cult and it became a tradition over generations to sacrifice 30 human babies, are you saying that 200 years from then it should be respected because it's a tradition, like the act of doing that?
Well, I don't think, to be honest, that tradition would last very long.
I mean, there's been
But
there has been like human sacrifices and everything that were traditions, and they lasted
but
for many years.
I mean, in today's society, it would not last. But if we're talking many years ago, this tradition, then yes, I would have had to respect it. Otherwise, I would be part of the tradition, I suppose.
Okay, and if it's like a tradition to commit things like FGM, like female genital mutilation, we should respect that because
No, of course not.
that is a tradition that exists today.
Of course not.
Yeah.
There is certain traditions that are acceptable and certain traditions that are not.
So so what we were saying before is that a tradition doesn't necessarily need to be respected then.
Well, if it is a tradition that's been going on for generational years and that is seen to the public as it's a normal tradition that does not go against violating rights and etc., I think, yeah.
Well, I'm confused. So we are talking about ones that specifically violate rights. Those are the ones that we're interested in. So should it be respected if it does violate rights, if it's been going on for hundreds of years?
I think in the tradition itself, yes, because it's a part of the culture of Portugal. This is what they've been doing for hundreds of years. But like I was saying, is the killing of the pig itself? No, I think it's not justified.
I'm confused as to why culture's getting more respect here than the individuals who are having their rights violated.
Well, if we put it into a smaller perspective, it's this pig was bred and fed to for this purpose in itself. Like this is what it was bred for. It's not like it was roaming free and had a happy life. This is what it was meant for.
Okay, but that aside, when we're talking about the other ones where, so female genital mutilation, should I respect the culture of and the tradition of that over respecting the individual who had their genitals taken away without the consent?
I think it's basically on the same level as should we respect the pig and should we respect these genital like traditions? I think not. But is it like something that exists? Yes.
I'm not asking if it exists. I'm asking you because it's what we got here because you were saying that tradition should be respected. So I'm testing that. So should I respect the tradition in that case over respecting the individuals who's having their genitals mutilated?
Well, for me, in my personal response, it would be I respect what I think I should respect. And if I have things that I should respect, for me personally, would be I would respect the tradition that I've known for hundreds of years, which I think would be justified because every single person would eat a piece of this animal that we have technically sacrificed. And I do not agree with genital removal and anything of that sort.
Well, what then this is saying is you would agree with FGM if you were part of that society and tradition.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay. So I am of the framework that I wouldn't respect the tradition of FGM even if I were in that society because I'm concerned with the rights of the individual over that. So I think that's a preferable framework to have, a preferable worldview because it doesn't it has the interests of the individual rather than this kind of like culture that I don't know why I should be respecting if it's harming individuals. Why should I?
Yeah, I can agree to a certain extent, but if, say, for example, you were like born into this, oh, I'm sorry, what was the term you used? The
FGM, female genital
FGM.
mutilation. Yeah.
Yeah, if he was born into this sort of cult um, way of doing this, I think that you wouldn't think too much about it.
So if you were born into the era before the suffragettes, where women didn't even have the right to vote, where you could violate their rights and get away with it, like legally and even morally, you would have also been someone who signed off on that being acceptable morally, because that's what you were
I
born
mean,
into.
from what I've lived, I mean, I suppose if I was born in that era and in that age, yes, I think I wouldn't think too much about it. I would
Okay.
just
I appreciate your
oblige to
honesty.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But the reason I have contention with this sort of thing is because I feel like these things wouldn't really even exist in the first place or exist very long if people had the mindset where just because they're born into it, it doesn't mean that, oh, they accept it. I think that's
Yeah,
much. Because then look
I, I can
look what
agree. See, this is
happens.
where I can agree to a certain extent, because I think if, say, for example, hunting never existed, and before the beginning of time, we would start collecting plant-based diets, and this is what we did before hunting was even thought about. And we became evolved to only eating like a plant-based diet, I think yes, with the world would be a lot cleaner and people would be a lot nicer. But unfortunately, this is the way we evolved, is to be hunter gatherers.
Yeah, well, I evolved like to clench my fists. It doesn't suddenly mean I'd be justified to like punch people in the face. Like I evolved to, you know, be like territorial and violent towards people. Perhaps you can make an argument for that. It's not telling me about what I ought do though.
But so, because we are all different individuals, correct? So I think for the main population, it's this is they don't think twice of anything. So this is just what they're relying on is what they've always been taught. So it's like
So it's kind of like the boat you're in, where you're kind of like you are just kind of born into this area. So now you will accept things that happen even though you don't have a moral justification for them. So when you say those people, are you lumping yourself in with that?
no, of course not. I do not want to take any part of killing the pig or feeding the pig or anything. I would not take part in any
Oh,
of that.
okay. So you wouldn't take.
Therefore, I would not s- like. I would not like. How can I say? It's because I'm sort of in a limbo. I don't know if I'm trying really getting my point across here. I'm
Yeah, I
sort
must
of
say
in a
that like
limbo.
there's things that it seems there's contradictory statements a couple of times, because what I'm confused by is because it is a social norm to pay for animals to be exploited and killed, right? And
Mhm.
you're saying, right, I wouldn't do that to the pig. That's horrible. Well, the things that are done to animals in order to obtain their flesh and secretions are horrible, and you do them because you said I won't.
Well,
I it would be difficult for me to go fully vegan
yeah, because
or go
I
vegan.
think
Yeah. Sorry.
because I have tried a solo plant-based diet. That was the only thing I ate for a month. I enjoyed it, of course, but I think it was very difficult to keep up with this. So I just resorted back to what I was doing before.
Right. So I see. So I mean, I appreciate your honesty and everything, but if you're telling me that you know that it's to be wrong and that's not driving you enough, then I guess it depends who you want to be. Like, do you want to be someone who, when you know something is wrong, but you do it anyway? Is that something you'd
It's
accept
it,
from
it-
other people? Like, probably not if you're the victim. I wouldn't
yeah,
accept it if I were
because
the victim.
I
So
think I'm sorry to cut you off,
no, no,
but
no,
I
that's fine.
think I'm in a state there. It's like I can accept reality. This is what happens with, say, for example, the slaughter factories. I know what happens. Am I happy about it? No. Do I accept it? I mean, yes, I accept it because there is nothing possibly that I can do that will change this. If I become vegan today and eat solely a plant-based diet, the slaughter factories will go on.
They will go
So
on,
it's
but you like supply and demand is a thing, right? So you are one less person paying into, those like flesh pieces and that secretion on the shelf. So that's one less product being sold that then means, oh, this is how many we hit our quota here, so breed these animals into existence and kill them. So it's not going to stop tomorrow, but like murder's not going to stop tomorrow. Does that mean, oh, well, I guess I'll murder then because it's not actually going to stop tomorrow? No, you're one
well,
less person murdering. That's it. That's it. Like nobody, and I don't know why there's this kind of like, oh, you need to fulfill this criteria before I'll change, because nobody would say that about murder, right? You're just one less person murdering. That should be enough. But for some
mm,
reason, what, the world has to be murder free before you won't do it? It just doesn't make any sense in any other context.
and with I get that point that you're trying to explain, but it's also I'm accepting of it because it's like, say for example, as I was talking about evolution, we started off with spears and bows and maybe rocks, who knows? But we evolved to a point where we have created these sort of subspecies of, for example, we created a pig. It comes from a wild boar. This is what it's bred for. This is its sole purpose. And we have created these mega factories that are for slaughtering this. And it's sort of a, we've got to a point of evolution that it's, we're no longer needing to go out and hunt. This is our, technically, our ways of hunting nowadays. So it's, in a way, I can accept it.
Right. So just to be clear, it's the purpose that we assign to them. We don't actually know their purpose, right? Like we are acting like we have some sort of dominion over them when we kind of say words like that. But I'm confused by what you just said there. So because things have changed, we no longer hunt and now we farm. You are accepting of the moral ramifications?
In the mega perspective, yes.
That doesn't make sense to me. So say for example we started farming humans, so instead of like killing them, we found a way to like farm them and make money off them. Would you just respect it because we've like changed and do something
Well,
different?
legally, it's not legal
Oh, hang on.
to kill a human being.
I've got a better analogy. We used to like kill people like brutally in combat and stab them and let them die of their stab wounds, and now people shoot people in the head.
Mm.
Do you just accept people shooting people in the head and murdering them because like we've evolved to become really like good with tools to the point where we can make such good machinery that it can kill people quickly? Would you accept that because the
Well,
way in which
I
it's done
think
is changed and more efficient by some
I can try and understand like the way you're trying to compare human beings with animals. But s- see, human beings, we are much more evolved than, say, for example, a pig. So
Sorry, can I stop
it's,
you? We've already gone through how
yeah.
you accepted there's no morally significant difference. So I know
No,
that
I'm not talking morally. I'm talking in ways of intelligence. So, say for example, this pig would be so highly intelligent, it would not be it's in this situation of a slaughter factory. I don't know if you try and understand what I'm trying to say there.
I don't know what difference that would make.
Well, if the pig would be, had a brain developed such as a human's brain, I don't think it would be in a situation where it would be in a slaughter factory.
You could imprison humans and slaughter them. I don't know what you're trying to say. And humans aren't
Yes,
on the same level of intelligence as each other either. So I can you are you able to just
and
answer the
that's kind of my point. I think is see, in life, the stronger they proceed to go on in life, and the weaker they will stay behind, and that is the way life works, I think. So
so
it's
you're of the view that might makes right.
in ways, yes.
So if I did an IQ test and it turned out that my IQ, I was just like, oh my god, it was just out of this world, like not even been seen before. We're talking like 700 IQ, okay, not even seen
Mm.
before. So now I can just kill all the people, like anyone, because they are below my level of intelligence, and that's fine in your view,
It wouldn't
morally.
be morally justified,
No,
but
exact.
yes,
No,
you would be able to kill.
no. So when I'm saying be able, like obviously I could go out and kill someone right now. I'm able to do that. Okay. I'm saying like able in your worldview to be morally justified in doing it. Would it be morally justified for me to do that?
It would not be morally justified. It
No.
would be
So
illegal.
no. And we're not talking about legality. We're talking about morals.
Well,
So,
obviously,
so
no, it's
no,
not
no.
morally
So
justified.
might doesn't make right, does it?
No.
No. Okay. So let's go back to the question then. So if so when we the question I asked before we kind of talked about like the difference like intelligence and everything was, would you just accept people murdering people now with guns and shooting them in the heads, just because like once upon a time the way we did it was with spears or with our bare hands, and we've
Well,
evolved to do it differently?
if say for example, there would be a justifiable reason for such thing, I think then yes, it is justifiable. So, for example, um, not just like on a rampage, a massacre. I think none of those make sense. But say, for example, it would be morally justifiable to kill a human being if that human being would have killed someone else. Yes, I think so.
Okay, so let's put it in the context of what we're doing to animals. So they haven't done anything to us. They haven't killed
No, no, of
anyone.
course not.
So would it be morally justified then?
Well, in ways, yes, because you are retrieving a way of eating from the animal. It's not so
No,
as
no, sorry. We're still talking about the gun. Would you just accept that to be the case so you'd have no qualms with it? You wouldn't like try and not involve yourself in that, like with the vegan situation? Because let's remember before you were saying, oh, I just accept this and I'm not vegan because once upon a time we hunted animals, but now we farm them. So I accept that because, you know, things have changed. So all I'm doing now is saying, okay, so in the human context, because you conceded before and you agree with me that there's no morally significant difference, I said, okay, so
no.
would you accept it? Would it be the exact same if we were talking about human beings? And say with guns, because like we no longer we kill people with guns now, people do that instead of killing people with their bare hands or with spears. Would you just accept that as is
Well,
because it's a evolutionary or technological development?
I do. Do I find it morally justifiable for someone to kill another human being? No, but is it the reality of what happens? Yes.
Yeah,
So therefore, I am fine with it.
so you're okay, so you're fine with people murdering people.
Well, well, yes, it's a reality of what
No, no,
happens.
no. So that's a different question. I'm not asking you if it's something that happens. I'm asking you if it's something that you morally think is acceptable and is something that you would participate in, like you do with veganism, non-veganism.
Well, obviously, I would not partake in it. It is not
Okay.
of my interest to murder someone. But if I am accepting of what happens, yes, of
Okay.
course.
So you wouldn't pay into, you wouldn't like participate in that.
No.
Okay. So there's a contradiction because we're saying there's no morally significant difference between humans and other animals. We've said that.
Hmm.
Even if it was something that happens, it's not fully, it hasn't fully gone away. Murder's not fully gone away. You wouldn't participate in it. You know, even if it were a social norm, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you would do it to other species of animals. So there's a contradiction.
So say I'm not killing for nutrients, correct? I'm just killing for pleasure. I'm not going to kill a pig for pleasure. Neither I'm going to kill a human being for pleasure.
So hang on, hang
If
on.
I'm
So hang on. Are you telling me that in the situation you're in, you cannot get nutrients unless you pay for someone to stab a pig?
well, if the way of retrieving the nutrients from this pig is to stab the pig, then yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay, but
I don't
not
know if
not
that's the
no,
question.
no, 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 no. That's not the question. So I'm telling you, are you saying right now that you cannot get nutrients being a vegan now? So your only way of getting food right now is like a desert island situation where all you have is like animals to kill around you or pay someone else to do it. That's all you have right now.
So your question is, I'm on a desert island, and the
No,
only way to survive
no,
is
sorry. Right. I'll just be clear. I'm obviously not being clear enough. Let me try again. Um, so you were saying that, oh, well, if I needed to, then that would be the case. Okay.
Mhm.
You don't need to though right now, right?
Well, no, I can
No.
agree with you on
Okay.
that.
So
No.
why are we going to the necessity thing then? This is what's throwing me off. Like I'm not asking you whether or not you need to or anything because you know that you don't need to.
Mhm.
So
Well,
why did
I would say it would be more of practicality and time.
so if it were less practicable and it meant more time for you, would you do the exact same thing to a human being? If it
Well,
were socially
no, because
acceptable?
I am not cannibalistic. I would not eat my own species.
Why not?
Well, I say this, but I have never tried human flesh, so therefore I do not know. But it's not something that I desire.
So because you don't desire it, that's the difference. What if you did
Yeah,
desire it?
I
So you
would
woke
say
up
so.
tomorrow, you're like, I want to taste human flesh. And to be honest with you, I pay for pigs to be killed anyway, and apparently, human flesh tastes similar. So I'm actually morally fine with paying for a human to be killed so I can eat them. Would you do that?
Well,
Would that be
I
acceptable?
would not do that. That obviously I would not do that.
Obviously
But
not. No.
say, for example, if I was born and raised never to eat meat, any type of meat, I would not think twice of paying for someone else to kill the animal. I would obviously go by a plant-based diet and not think anything of it. But I was raised a certain way, so therefore I have tried meat. Whether I would like it or not, I have tried it. And I think that would apply the same way as if someone was to be raised as a cannibal.
So we're going back to the thing where you are the type of person where if you were like raised in a society that like enslaved people, you'd sign off on that being morally acceptable and you'd accept it and that sort of thing.
I believe so. I believe so because the age, for example, of 6 months old, I don't, or that's a bit of a reach because 6 months old, you don't really eat meat or any types of like proteins or anything. But I would say from 4 years old onwards, it's not like you have much of a choice of what your parents decide to feed you.
Yeah, but you have a choice. You have a choice now, though.
Yeah,
Have you heard
yeah.
the phrase, bad things don't happen because of bad people. They happen because like otherwise good people let them happen. Have you heard that?
Yes, I think I
Yeah,
have.
that
Yes.
that that's you with this and everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Like,
Because I think, for example, the slaughter factories. If I could end it, I would. But does my opinion really count in the masses? Not really. So
well,
therefore, I can be okay with it.
it's not so much your opinion, it's the fact that your money you're paying into that system like directly. So actually, like if you read a paper, it's called Against Inefficacy Objections. It goes through how there's actually a threshold where people say, oh, you could save this many animals a year by not like by being vegan. Well, it could potentially be more. You could be the threshold that means like 900 animals get bred into existence and are then subsequently exploited and killed. You don't tangibly see it, but you
Mm.
not paying for it and paying for other things, it's supply and demand like everything else. That's what we work in. If you're not paying for it, less animals will be being bred into existence to be killed in the first place. So you are effectively, affecting the entire existence of an individual and multiple ones at that.
Yeah, I can understand this because it's statistically obviously that the more supply, the more demand, sorry, that there is, the more there has to be supply
Mm-hmm.
to obviously continue this demand. But I think if in ways people would retract from this, and that's what I was going back to, is the amount of time it would be necessary to complete this is a long, very long, very long time.
Is that some argument for why you are justified in not doing it yourself?
I probably think, and it's no offense, but I think I will not be on this planet by then.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine. I believe the same thing. But what I'm asking you
Yeah.
is that some sort of justification for you not making the change now?
No, I think my main justification is the time that I have to prepare my meals. I think it's much easier and effortless for me just to go out and grab something
So you think
and move
it's?
on with my
Oh,
day.
sorry. Sorry. Are you... Yeah. So you think
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
okay? You think it's justified morally to pay for animals to be killed because it's easier for you to pay for them to be killed? Am I get
I
hearing that
mean,
right?
in a kind of way, it's not morally justified to kill the animal, but for my personal experience, I mean, if there was like, say, for example, I don't know in the UK if they have the like pop-up grab and goes, like the vending machines where you can just like grab any sort of
Yeah.
sandwich
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
available.
Yeah, we have things
Well,
like
if
that.
there was vegan sandwiches, for example, in these sort of vending machines, which I believe there's not, I guess I would go for the vegan sandwich, but there is not.
So you're telling me so you're telling me right now, you'd look an animal in the eye, right? They're at a slaughterhouse.
Mhm.
They're about to get their throats slit. And you're told, look, it will be a bit harder for you, maybe a little bit, sometimes it'll be a bit inconvenient. But if you just
Yeah.
say no right now and continue saying no, they won't have their throat slit. You're telling me you'd go, oh no, slit their throat. I want things to be a bit easier.
Well, in sort of ways, I can understand how I can sound contradiction of what I'm saying, but yes, if that just one animal would make my life so much productive, then yes, it is being sacrificed in ways that will benefit productivity. And then yes, I think it is morally justified.
Given you've said that there's no morally significant difference between humans and other animals that would justify that, do you understand how sickening that would sound to someone like myself?
Yeah, I can clearly understand how that sounds very contradictory of myself, but
It's
I
not
think
like just morally apprehensible. You've told me you think it's morally wrong. So we're talking, about an individual who suffers, they have an experience. You're saying, yep, because it would be a bit easier for me, you could take their entire life away from them.
well, I think this it would be the same, for example, with beans or any sort of because technically they are living beings, right?
Wait, beans?
Like a bean, just like a simple bean.
Oh, do you know the difference between living and sentient?
Well, yes, I do.
Then why are you bringing up beans?
Because, say, for example, I think in ways we can take, for example, a flower and a pig.
Uh
If
huh.
you're going to kill this pig, it is going to squeal, gush blood, move. It's not going to enjoy what is happening to it. And as a human, we have emotions, so we think this is wrong. Say, for example, the flower, it does not. You chop off the stem, and that's the end of the story. I think if the pig would be the same, I think people would have a different view on how killing is made.
Sorry. What do you mean? Sorry.
So, because with humans' emotions, we attach, say, for example, pain, and we think that is wrong. But I think
Yeah.
the flower would have feelings of pain, but is just not showing it
So wait. Are you
through.
saying you think plants are sentient?
In ways, I think we cannot understand in ways that they are, but I think they are. I think they do may have feelings because they grow up. They know exactly how to find the way to grow up with the sun. They know which way to direct themselves.
Yeah,
When it's
computers can do very intelligent things. There's a difference between intelligence and sentience. But let's just grant, okay, I mean, the consensus, let's just be clear, the consensus is that plants aren't sentient.
Hmm.
But say if they were, again, there's a trophic pyramid. If we're including billions of animals in the equation, what are they getting fed? They're getting fed plants. So again, you'd
Hmm.
still be compelled to go vegan to reduce and do what you can. And then obviously we would have to look into like making food that's got nothing to do with plants or animals in order to make sure that we were being morally, correct and everything. But so
Yeah.
even if we want to go down this route of like plants being sentient, it would still compel you to go vegan.
Well, yes, yes, it would.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really know where to go if you're telling me that like, oh, in a time where like, it's good to be honest and everything, but if you're telling me that in a time of like, women not having their rights, you would have accepted it and partook in it. If you're telling me, you know, in times of slavery, you would have partook in it and accepted it, you know, but then you're also telling me you don't accept it. But then, you know, if you grew up like in a time where, you know, FGM was taking place, you'd accept it. Then we just have like completely different values. I think that's like part of the ills of the world. I think that's part of why bad things happen in the first place, because people just kind of go, okay, well, society says it's okay, so let's not logically like go through this. But if you have that level of acceptance, then I mean, I don't understand it at all. I don't know why you'd be okay with something that you find morally wrong, and why you wouldn't just not participate in it.
Well, I think it's sorry. I think it's in my perspective. I think since I am okay, say for example the desert island situation, yes, I would be okay. I would be fine with killing the animal to survive. I can sort of have that in ways people are accepting of the slaughter factories. So in ways I am accepting what others think as well. So I'm
Wait,
accepting their opinion.
yeah, no, wait. Let's just be clear. You don't need to do that though to survive, do you?
Accept others' opinions?
No, no, you don't need to kill animals to survive right now, do you?
Well, at the moment, no.
No, no.
I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, as I was saying that whole thing, I'm confused. Would you think those things during those times that I listed, would you think they're morally wrong?
I'm sorry, you cut off there.
Oh,
What did you
sorry.
say?
In a time, you know, where those things I've listed were morally acceptable, or some things still happen to this day. So you'd think they're morally wrong, would you? But you'd partake in them.
So, see, it goes back to would I be aware of what is going on? I think in those previous times, if you was raised in that sort of situation, I think you wouldn't be really aware of what you're
No,
doing.
sorry. So
So
no,
you just
just
accept of
sorry
what it
to
is being.
like over talk, but like that's not what I'm asking. You would be aware. Everything, all else equal, the only difference is instead of being grown
Okay.
up in a time where it's morally acceptable to exploit and kill animals, it's morally acceptable to do one of those things that I've mentioned. You know, like not let women have their rights, or, you know, enslave people, or female genital mutilation, those sorts of things. Would you find those things wrong while still participating in them and you know about them?
Yes, 100%. I would find it wrong, but would I participate for, like, if we're talking in those times to um, continuing living, then yes, I think I would be more or less
No, no,
obliged to
no.
be
Well,
doing it.
you added something in there that isn't there. So you've just told me. So it's weird because you're being honest and then suddenly you're not. Like I'm not saying like you put to continue living there. We've just
Hmm.
accepted you don't need to eat animals to continue living. So we're not talking about to continue living. Just would you accept them, but find them morally wrong, but then still participate in them?
Well, it's different because, say, for example, with the animals, I do not participate in it, but I find it morally incorrect as well. But
Oh,
I'm
wait,
not
sorry,
accepting of it.
you are vegan then. You don't participate in it.
Well, I do not participate in, no.
So wait, do you pay for animal flesh secretions, their skin, their fur? Do
If
you?
you're talking, if I go to the supermarket and collect a package of flesh, then yes, in ways I do.
So then you do participate in it.
In ways that I do not intend to participate, which is physically, then I do not participate that way. But in ways that, for example, I'm helping, for example, the slaughterhouses continue, then yes, I am aware of that.
So yeah, you are participating in that, aren't you?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So the question then remains, would you do the exact same thing you're doing now with the animals? So you think it's morally wrong, but you accept it, you partake in it. Would you do that with the other things? You don't need to do it for survival. You are partaking in it. Would you do that?
So basically what you're saying is, would I mistreat another human being knowing that it is happening?
Yeah, just like all else equal, you know it happens. You think it's wrong, but you do it anyway because society says that that's acceptable to do. You partake in it directly in some way. Would you do that?
Um, this might sound a bit manical from my side, but I think I would if it would be such a normalized thing to do.
Okay. I mean, if that's what you would do, then that's
And I believe I'm being honest there.
yeah, yeah. I appreciate you being honest, but that's just it's kind of just sad to hear. You know.
Yeah.
D-
I'd like to find always, like, if I'm doing this way for one reason, I think the other reason that would be presented, I would do the same thing as well. I would not try and find sort of a different explanation for anything else. I
Oh,
would
so
do the same thing.
consistency, yeah, it's important to you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so let's just see. Say if you were the victim, you'd accept that. Someone else doing that
I
to
don't
you.
think I would have much of a choice there.
Not being asked if you would have a choice. I'm asking if you would accept it.
Oh, I would have to accept it. Yes.
Yeah. So you'd rather live in that world than my world. So where you could well just be the victim of somebody and you would have to just accept that because you victimize others. You'd prefer to live in that world than live in like mine where you are a subject deserving of your negative rights.
I would believe if I was in the situation of the pig, then yes, I would have to be accepting of
Okay.
what is happening.
Uh, you would have to. Why? Because it would be done to you, or you would have to because that's just your worldview.
I think that is my worldview. I think that would just
Okay.
be what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm happy we had this discussion. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, I found it very interesting because we have points that we can agree on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Like,
I think it's just,
sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
I was just saying. So yeah, the kind of main thing that we agreed on, which is always interesting because usually it's not the case that that there is indeed no morally significant difference between the species in that sense that would justify it. Which usually I'm trying to get people to discuss that.
Yeah.
And yeah, usually people are inconsistent. It's more of a uncommon occurrence where someone is consistent, but they are happy to sign off on things that I find so morally atrocious and would be morally atrocious if they were the victim.
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
I think that is one of the major problems as well with people accepting reality. For example, they know of the slaughterhouses, but when it's presented to them of their own species in the same situation, they would switch and be a hypocrite. I
Hmm.
think that is not correct. I think if you're standing by your word for one species, why not do it for every single other species? So that is my point on that.
Hmm.
Um, but I think, yeah, veganism is the best way for everyone to live in peace, I think.
Why would it be the best way? Would you say?
Well, because no one is killing anyone.
And in your worldview, that's preferable.
Yeah, I think if there's no killing going on in the world and everyone can manage to sustain themselves, then yes.
So would less killing be preferable in your worldview than more killing?
Yes,
Okay.
less
So,
killing,
yeah, less
obviously.
killing, yeah. So, wouldn't it be more consistent in your worldview not to participate in more killing?
But yes, in
Yeah.
ways, yes.
So, there's an inconsistency again.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, that's something to think about. If
yeah,
inconsistency is the thing for you, if you value less killing and less harm and those things, then it calls upon you to be vegan.
yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Is your name Young?
No, my name is Adam.
Oh, Adam. Okay. Well, it's nice
Yeah.
to meet you, and thank you for coming in the
Yeah,
chat.
thank you very much.
Is there anything you finally want to say? Because I noticed I did overtalk you quite a few times. So just
No, that's all. I was trying to also be educated more
okay.
as
Well,
well.
super. Well, if you ever want to come on again, you ever have like a question or something, then yeah, feel free to just let me
Okay.
know.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Super. Thank you, Adam. There we go. Done. Sorry. I'm glad he said that bit at the end there because, yeah, if it's his worldview that it's better, then it'd be more consistent with his worldview to not partake in that. Salad. Thank you so much, Corvid Moon.
Ume_macaroon the lat tipped £15.77. It's so nice to see people starting to film their outreach so they can put it out there, finding more eyes.